Hello and welcome to FootySays. I'm your host Ranty. This is another edition of FootySays interviews. We have a very special guest with us today. It's none other than Bolton Wanderers right back, Josh Emmanuel. How are you doing today, Josh?
I'm all good, thanks. How you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. How are you keeping occupied during quarantine?
I'm good. Just been trying to work hard, keep active, keep the family active, and just trying to stay healthy. To be honest.
Bolton, do they have like any Zoom sessions that they're doing for the players at all? Or are they just giving you your own like personal regime to get on with?
Yeah, no Zoom sessions. I don't think the coaches are techie enough to start. But now we've just got our own programs that we've been following. Just been doing like 5K, 10K most days, and just been trying to stay active.
Yeah. Okay, so we're just going to get straight into it, really. Now, a lot of people may not know who you are. Obviously, you're the right back for Bolton Wanderers. But when you first started playing football, it was in East London. You're a West Ham schoolboy. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, seems like a lifetime ago that, as I told you earlier. I joined West Ham's Academy when I was 4 years old. And from there, I just developed the love of playing football, obviously, like most kids. But I developed quite a seriousness from a young age. Obviously, you have the pressure of playing, with people watching like Hawks. So, it was a fun time looking back. Developed through the system until I was 13 when I left there. And enjoyed it. Enjoyed every moment of it until probably the end when I had to leave. So, yeah. But other than that, it was a very looking back on it, I learned a lot from my young years there, definitely.
4 years old is a very young age to be spotted. Like, what was that whole process like? Who came to you, or was it the scout go to your parents and say that, look, this kid's something special?
Obviously, you know how God works, in mysterious ways. But my dad was the one that was very well, my brother was already playing football, so he could see how we could all become footballers. Like, he could see the path. He could see the path there for myself and my brother. And so even at the young age, when I used to just kick the ball around when my brother used to be training, you could see from them even that I had something. And I think it was one time when my brother was training, someone was watching them train, and I was just kicking the ball by myself whilst watching them. And from then someone saw me and took me to the academy for. Back then it wasn't really a trial; it was more just training with other young kids. And then I signed properly when I was 6. So for 2 years I was just playing for fun, but in a West Ham t-shirt, really.
Yeah. And then obviously you spoke about how you made the transition from West Ham schoolboys to the Ipswich youth team. How did that move come about?
It was not a straightforward one. So I left West Ham when I was 13. I say I left, basically my dad left. He took me out there because he didn't want me to be, basically I had injuries, and the coaches weren't really helping me to develop, or allow me to develop even throughout my injuries. So my dad just had enough and took me out without even my say, to be honest. But looking back on it now, it was a blessing in disguise. So from then, I trained with a number of different clubs. Didn't really see it as trialing. I was just training, trying to keep my fitness up, really. That's how I saw it. And it was only when I went to Ipswich when the coaches actually, put pressure on me to sign. So obviously I must not have been good enough for the other clubs, but that's how it is. But so from then I just signed when I was 14, and
So you spoke about the injuries that you had when you were at West Ham schoolboys. For you personally, did you feel like that was impacting your development at all?
Yeah, well, I couldn't play back-to-back games. I couldn't play 2 games in 2 weeks. Yeah, I wasn't able to do that. But the coaches were putting a pressure on me because obviously they wanted to, judge me for the coming years. So yeah, that was it was a real frustrating one for me at the time. But I just knew, it's part of football.
Yeah. And obviously you made your way through the ranks at Ipswich, and Mick McCarthy obviously saw the talent in you. and then you signed your first professional contract with Ipswich. What was that feeling like?
Yeah, it was a great moment. Obviously, I give a lot of praise to Mick McCarthy and Terry O'Connor. But at the time, I was more excited about playing because I signed my first contract literally two days before my debut. So I wasn't really too excited about signing. It was more a case of, okay, cool, the game, and let's get ready for that. So yeah, it happened all very quickly. But looking back on it, yeah, it was a great time.
I mean, it was during the pre-season, right, that he saw a lot of your potential, and he thought, okay, yeah, this guy needs to push onto the first team, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'd been offered even a third-year scholar, so I wasn't really in the reckoning. But obviously, when I came back for pre-season, I was the fittest in the club. I think that was the main thing that helped me to, obviously, God made a way, but that was the main thing that caught their eye, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Obviously, a lot of people won't know this, but I've played with you before just for fun, and your development from when you were young up until now, you're like, I don't know who got you annoyed, but you're definitely taking your anger out in the gym, man, because you're built like a machine these days, man.
Not even. Yeah, it was. I used to be a gym freak, boy. But yeah, even back then I was trying, but obviously I was young, so nothing was really showing. But I've always had that brute determination, to be honest, and I took it out in the gym, to be honest. I should have spent more time out on the fields, can't even lie. But there you go.
Yeah, so you had your first game for Ipswich against Brentford, and that went pretty well for you. You got an assist on the day. How was that feeling for you?
Yeah, you're taking me back. Yeah, it was crazy, man. It was crazy. Against Brentford on the first game of the season. I remember it just being hot, my mouth dry, my lip all hanging. But it was it was an amazing feeling. It was an amazing feeling for us to. I know we went 2-0 up, and then Brentford came back and it ended 2-2. But I just knew that I played so well that I didn't even care about the result. As bad as it sounds, I didn't even care about the result because I knew, cool, I've done what I needed to do. So it was like all the years of working and training for that moment. And it was a great time, man. Great feeling.
Yeah, and now, I mean, the game after didn't go as planned. It was Brighton that you played next. And obviously it was a very, very difficult game for you. What was the contrasting feeling in comparison to the Brentford game? Because obviously you're going into that game quite inexperienced as a new professional. What was the feeling like going into that game?
To be honest, looking back on that, I had such a brute arrogance that I didn't even feel inexperienced. I promise. Like, right. I know I was up against Loire, and I was thinking to myself, "Go on, I'm going to eat this guy," because I was obviously on the back of just having the game of my life in my debut. It wasn't it was like 3 weeks after that, so I was a bit annoyed that I hadn't played, to be honest. So yeah, I was quite confident going into the game. Obviously, I made the main mistake inexperience showed for the first goal where Loire ran off me. But the contrasting feeling was more a case of the annoyance. I was still annoyed that I didn't play. It sounds childish looking back on it, but I was still annoyed that I didn't play the next game after the Brentford game. So I was feeling like I was just playing because someone else was injured. You understand? So looking back on it, I think that kind of affected me, but I'm not going to make an excuse for making a mistake for the goal. But yeah, that was the main contrasting feeling, to be honest.
Yeah, and I guess for yourself, it was almost a reality check at that point because the games didn't come as planned in terms of getting first team appearances, and obviously that led to a loan spell at Crawley Town. Was that something that you discussed with Mick McCarthy in regards to not playing or making first team appearances? Is that something that you discussed with him going out on loan?
I didn't, to be honest. I didn't. I was still in around the first team. I was, on the bench most weeks, as frustrating as it was. But still, to be 18 on the bench in the Championship, I wasn't really. I was moaning, but not to them, really. So yeah, I didn't really discuss going out on loan. But he came to me one training session in the morning, I was just like, Crawley have come in, and yeah, he said it was a good opportunity for me to get football, and so yeah, I just packed my bags and went.
And what was that experience like at Crawley for you? Because you didn't spend too long there, did you?
Nah, not at all. It was a weird one. It was again another reality check, to be honest, to show how fickle football is and how bad the real world is. To be honest, like I went there obviously to play games. The gaffer there, was singing hymns about me when I came, and then we lost the first game that I started, and then I didn't play for the next 4 games or something like that, and then I played the final game just before I got recalled to Ipswich, and I done well in it, and he was crying for me to stay. Obviously, I was never going to do that after not playing. So yeah, it was a real eye opener for me, definitely.
And what could you explain that? Because I know for people who play football regularly, maybe Saturday League, etc., they may not have that conversation with their managers where they feel that they're good already enough to start a game, but they're not having that communication with the manager and he's not starting them. What is that like? Did you ever feel at a point that you had to go and speak to the manager and say that, look, I've come here on loan, I need to actually start games? I feel like I'm proving myself? Or what was that whole situation like?
Yeah, it's like banging your head against the wall, to be honest. It's more a case of just showing and training every day that you're ready to play, you're ready to be in the starting 11. And I feel like the football should always do the talking. Like, you can talk all you want in the management room or office or whatever, but at the end of the day, he's gonna judge you more or less on the training pitch. So that was the main thing for me, just making sure every day in training that I'm the best. That was the main thing.
And obviously you returned back to your parent club Ipswich in the 16-17 season. Again, you were starting games, you were starting on the bench, you're starting games, you're starting on the bench. How was that for you? Because obviously going into Ipswich, there was a lot of high praise from Mick McCarthy. But I guess it was, as a collective for Ipswich, it was a difficult time, given the position that they finished. What was that period like for you?
It was a frustrating one, but I'm quite not a pessimist, an optimist. So every opportunity that I got, I just took it and I tried to move forward with it. Like, I get quite excited even when I have a good game. I'm thinking, cool, what's next? But at the same time, I realized that during that period that it's more a case of right now, right here, right now. So yeah, that's all you can do in football, really. Just give your best at the opportunities that you're given, and then move forward and see whatever happens and pray for the best, to be honest. So that's what my emotions were back then, and those are the same emotions I still would have today. So yeah, looking back at it, I handled the situation quite maturely, other than not performing consistently enough. But again, I was young, so that goes down to inexperience. But at the same time, I learned a lot during that period, definitely.
Yeah. And obviously the move to Rotherham followed on from that. Paul Warren was a huge admirer of you, obviously, and you arguably spent your best years up until now in League One. You helped them to promotion in the Championship. You got the Young Player of the Year. Can you just talk us through that season and what do you think clicked for you?
The thing that clicked, that I was playing week in, week out. To be honest, that was the main. No footballer can perform at their best if they're just playing 1 week here and next week they're on the bench. So that was the main thing, and I really thank Paul Warren for the trust and his assistant manager and all the coaches there for their trust in me being a young player, but to play every week. To be fair, I didn't start the season too well. I got injured, but from January times when we went unbeaten for like 14 games, that's when we really picked up speed and really started to show the league that we were one of the best. So it was more a case of confidence. Like that time really showed me that confidence is invaluable. Like, confidence can really take you from being an average player to an excellent player. Honestly, that confidence, that it's even one that you don't even have to think of. It's just there. Like, you go into a game thinking you're going to win. Like, not even thinking about it, just expecting to win. And that was really, really a landmark in my life, even, because it just showed me that if you have that confidence in everything you do, then you're more likely you're not going to succeed. So that's the main thing I learned from it. And being part of the team that was winning constantly. Yeah, there's honestly no better feeling than winning after winning after winning. It's just incredible. So I took a lot out of that. I took a lot of confidence out of that time, and I'm grateful to God how it finished, getting promoted, obviously. So yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, I mean, and prior to that move, what were the conversations like with Paul Warren? Because he would have obviously known. Obviously, you weren't at the time first choice right back at Ipswich, but he definitely saw the potential in you. So, what was it that he said that maybe made you think that, okay, yeah, I have to perform for this manager?
The question mark over the move for me was the season previous. Like, at the end of the season, before I joined Rotherham, I actually played against them for Ipswich, and I gave away a penalty in that game. And looking back on it, I didn't think I had a good game at all. But when he sat me down and spoke to me about, what he likes about me, what he feels like I can get better at, it was really, it showed me that I'm hard on myself, which is a good thing. But at the same time, you need to be open-minded about how things went. It's easy to, we can all be our worst enemy at times by being overly critical of ourselves. But he really showed me that it's not all about my opinion. It's an opinion-based game, which I know, but it's not all about my opinion. So that's something we spoke about, and he just he's trusted me from that moment on. So I'm grateful.
Yeah, and the following season, you had a loan spell at Shrewsbury Town. Can you tell us about that? Why wasn't it a case? Did you want to go? Did you want to continue with Rotherham, or did you just think it was best for a new chapter? Or what was that whole process?
Being careful what I say. It was a case of bad management from the new gaffer that came into Ipswich. Obviously, I understand he's got a lot on his plate, and also lack of guidance from my agents, from the people around me. But at the same time, that's what excuses. Just obviously, it's my fault in terms of how I handled it. But obviously, it was my first time being in that position, just getting promoted, and going back to my parent club. So everything was happening quite quickly. But there were talks of other clubs, obviously other interests. So a lot was happening. But for me, looking back on it, I was disappointed that I didn't put my foot down and just say one thing or another, and also the trust I had in the manager, that the new manager that came in at Ipswich, was a bit too much. So again, I learned a lot from that time, from the period before I moved to Shrewsbury. But at the same time, Shrewsbury was another opportunity to play games. So yeah, I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll get on to Paul Lambert after. Yeah, you speak about your time at Shrewsbury rather, and what was that learning experience like for you over there?
It was more of a mind battle for me, because obviously after promotion, being in the same league, I was thinking, what am I doing here, really and truly? But it was a real humbling process for me, because I saw that, again, football is fickle and life can hit you really quickly. So it was a case for me to man up and deal with the situation at hand. Again, as I said previous, taking every situation as it comes, taking every game as it comes. So it was a real mental battle for me to be ready for every opportunity, every game, even every training session, because nothing's given in life. So it was a period that really kept me on my toes, definitely.
Yeah, and obviously you returned back to your parent club, Ipswich, and you spoke about the new manager, Paul Lambert, obviously because Mick McCarthy had left. Before you had actually moved to Bolton, did you actually have any conversations with Paul Lambert about where you were at as a player, and what you were hoping for in terms of moving forward at Ipswich?
We all had reviews at the end of the season, at the end of last season, that was. And yeah, it was just a case of come back in pre-season and be ready for the challenge, be ready for the fight. And as much as I knew that was true, at the same time I knew that I didn't fully have his backing. So again, for me, it was just to prepare as best as I could and pray for the best, literally. And yeah, again, the opportunity to go to Bolton arose, and I'm thankful it happened. So yeah, it was again quite a swift but draining period when I didn't know whether I was staying or going. But yeah, it worked out. It worked out well. I eventually got the move to Bolton, and yeah, another opportunity that I was looking forward to.
Yeah, you talk about your move to Bolton. Obviously, we won't go into too much detail about what was happening prior to your move. But for you personally, why Bolton? I'm sure you were looking at other clubs. What stood out to you in regards to going to Bolton?
The opportunity to play again. To be honest, I hadn't played regularly for a number of months, and that was the main thing for me. The backing of the manager, again, Keith Hill and David Flitcroft, which I appreciate hugely, and the opportunity to make something happen. Obviously, we were in minus points back then. They signed 10 other players along with myself, so it was a real big challenge for me. Again, moving up north, very far away from home, so it was yeah, I'm one for a challenge, and I was relishing that at the opportunity to play and try and help the club get back to where they're meant to be. So that was the main thing for me.
Yeah, and obviously prior to the pandemic, you were getting a lot of regular football at Bolton, and you spoke about how you guys had been deducted points. Obviously, it's a relegation scrap for you, but what is the mentality like amongst the team? Do they still believe that they can get out of this relegation scrap, or what is the mentality collectively?
Yeah, the gaffer really sets the tone in the dressing room with the mindset of we don't give up. Like no matter what happens, we don't give up. Like every game we've lost some games 7-0, and even going into the next game, he's acting like that didn't even happen. It can be obviously a bit false at times, but at the same time, it's a real encouraging thing when you have a man that believes so passionately in his team. So yeah, that's the confidence that we all take into every game, with the mindset that we can win and make something happen. So yeah, that's the mindset in the group. And regarding the relegation battle, as I said again, it's just every game at a time. We know if we win this game, we're one step closer. So that's the real mindset we all have.
Yeah, and I mean, you signed a short-term deal with Bolton. Moving forward, do you feel confident that they're willing and ready to give you another deal?
Hopefully, obviously, we'll see what happens after this pandemic. Every club has been hit traumatically financially, so it's a real tough period for them. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Obviously, the owners are good people, but money talks. So we'll see.
Yeah, and obviously from a national team perspective, you have two options. Evidently, England on one hand, and then Nigeria on the other hand. Have you thought what country you would like to play for? Maybe moving forward.
All that's in my mind is being, yeah, all that's in my mind is being good enough to play for either. To be honest, because currently I'm not. So that's my mindset. And
Yeah.
by God's grace, obviously, once I've got the opportunity to choose, we'll see what happens.
Cool. Well, listen, Josh, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for taking time out to speak with FootySays. Don't forget, guys, you can like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Josh, like I said, pleasure speaking with you, mate.
Appreciate it.